Welcome everyone to part 5 of my complete Blender beginner tutorial series. So in the last part we modeled the environment. So we modeled these hills here, and we modeled the clouds, and we also modeled the road and the fence. So in this part we're going to be finishing up the modeling. So we're going to be modeling a mailbox right here. We're also going to be adding a flag in the front yard, and we're also going to be modeling some stylized trees. So let's get started with those trees. So I'm going to start off by pressing Shift C, and that'll center the 3D cursor into the center of our scene. Let's press Shift A now, and I'm going to go to Mesh and add a plane. Now I'm going to tab into edit mode, and what I want to do is scale this plane down and merge all the vertices into just one vertice. So what I can do in edit mode, make sure you're in edit mode, is go S to scale and then type in 0 and then enter. Now if we zoom in here inside the house, you can see that now it's squashed it all together, but there's actually 4 vertices there, so we need to actually merge them together into one vertice. So to do that, you can press M, and that is the shortcut key for the merge settings, and I'm going to click on by distance. And now it says remove 3 vertices right down here, so we just have one vertice right in the center. So now I'm going to start modeling the tree. So I'm going to model up the tree trunk and then model out the limbs. So what I can do is press E to extrude and then Z on the Z axis and pull this up. Now, if you wanted to, you could press G, move this over, and then just kind of model it over here. And that way the house isn't going to be in the way. But I'm going to show you a way, actually 2 ways to hide everything else so that you can just model with one object and the other objects won't be in the way. So the first way is to select whatever you want to work with and then press Control I. What Control I does is it inverts the selection. So whatever you have selected, if you press Control I, let me just select this, Control I, that inverts the selection, and now we have everything else selected. Then what you can do is you can press H. So the H button is the shortcut key for hide. And you can see here, if I just drag down this collection in the outliner, you can see that what it's done is it's taken these eye icons and it's hidden everything. So this eye icon, when you turn it off, it hides it. So it's still there, but you just can't see it from the view. Then let's say I'm just going to model this, and when I'm done modeling it, I can press Alt H, and that's going to unhide everything. So again, H, it'll hide everything that's selected. Alt H, that's going to unhide everything. So that's one way to do it. You could just hide everything and then model what you want to model, and then this stuff is going to be out of the way. Another thing that you can do is to go into local view. So to go into local view, you select the object. So I'm going to select our tree, which is like really thin right now. And then what you do is you press the / button. On my keyboard, it also has the question mark. I'm going to throw up on the screen an image so you can see on my keyboard what I'm talking about. But yeah, hit the / and that'll go into local view. And right up on the view here, you can see that there's this local view here, and it says toggle local view. So you can also just click on this, or just click on the numpad / I also have another / on my keyboard. That'll work for any object. If you want to edit this object, / it'll go into local view. Now you're only going to see this object, / and that'll go out of local view. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to select this, and if I can actually select it, it's a little hard to select. Okay, / go into local view. Now we can tab into edit mode, and I can just start modeling this. So I'm basically modeling this as if it were really thin. I'm just going to model this, and then after I've modeled the thickness of the tree, we're going to thicken it up using a modifier. So let's just start off by modeling the tree. So I'm going to go 1 on the number pad for front view, and just start extruding up the trunk of the tree. Maybe make it a little bit wobbly. And then also you can just select some parts and extrude it out with E. So just press E and then click, and E and click, and just model out the branches however you'd like it to be. So just keep on doing that. I'm going to add some branches here and here. And then also what I'm going to do is go out of side view, and I can press B and box select and just select some of the branches, and then press R to rotate and G to grab, and just move them around so that they aren't super flat, because we just modeled them in the front view. So if you just kind of grab some of the pieces and move it around, it'll be a little bit more 3-dimensional. I'm just going to select this branch and rotate it by double tapping R and then moving around. Actually, I think this one I'll rotate this way. And then I think I'll add one more small branch right up here by extruding this out, just like that. Okay, there we go. So there is my first tree. I think I'll actually tab in edit mode, box select this entire area, and bring it up by pressing G to grab, Z on the Z axis, and bring it up. And then maybe I'll press Control R and then click, and that's going to add a vertice and just kind of rotate this around just so that it's not super straight. Okay, so that's going to be it for my tree. So just go back into object mode. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. So now we need to thicken this up. So I'm going to go over here to the modifiers and we're going to click on add modifier and add the skin modifier. Now it may add it too small or it may add it too big. We can actually change the thickness of this. So what you do is tab into edit mode, press A to make sure everything is selected, and then you can press with your mouse hovered over the 3D window in Blender, press Control A, and Control A is going to scale it. So press Control A and then move your mouse and then click to place that. And you can scale how big that skin modifier is going to be. Now, if you press Control A with your mouse hovered over this view, it's going to apply the modifier. So just make sure you have your mouse hovered over the 3D area in Blender and then press Control A. And then you can actually make it thicker in some areas and thinner in other areas. So you just select the area. If I press Z, move my mouse over, go into Wireframe, you can just box select some of the areas. Like for instance, I want to make the trunk thicker. So I'm going to press B, box select the trunk, and then just press Control A and make that thicker. I'm also going to box select this bottom area and make it even thicker. And then maybe select the very bottom one, press Control A, make that even thicker. So there we go. Now the bottom of the tree is thicker, and then I can box select some of the limbs here, the tree branches, and then press Control A and make them a lot thinner. And then just select the very tips of the branches, holding down the Shift key and selecting the tops, and then press Control A again, make those really thin. So now it looks a lot more like a tree, and I think up here I will also press Control A to make that a little bit thinner, just like that. Now you can see that if you select a point and move it, you can still edit the tree if you want to, but if you move it in a certain area like this, it can act a little glitchy and weird. Now, once you apply the skin modifier, you could go back and manually fix this, but if you want to fix this, just try to make the angle a little bit wider, because if it's really small like this, there can be issues. So just try to make the angle a little bit wider between the two vertices. So once you're happy with this, before we apply this, I actually want to duplicate it because I want to change it a little bit, but let's go out of local view now. So I'm going to press the /, go out of local view, and then just bring this tree up. And then I want to duplicate it because I want to make a second tree. I want to just have maybe two different types of trees. We can just duplicate them and put them around the scene. So I'll press Shift D, click with my middle mouse wheel, duplicate that and bring it over. And then just select the first one again, and you can move your mouse over the skin modifier and press Control A. Now, when you do that, you can tab into edit mode now, and it's actual geometry now. Now you can see that once you apply the skin modifier, it adds a lot of extra vertices in here, and this is okay if you're fine with it, but I want to get rid of some of these vertices because we have way too many, like way in here. We don't really need all those loops. So a very quick way to get rid of those loops is, first of all, hold down the Alt key and select a loop, and then what we can do is right up here, this button right here, this is the auto merge vertices. So if you turn this on, then what you can do is if you push vertices together and they're really close to each other, they're going to automatically join together. So what you can do now is Alt select a loop, and then you can double tap G, and that'll go into the edge slide and just move over and then click. And you can see that now it automatically joins those together. So you can just do this for the entire tree by double tapping G, moving over and then clicking, double tapping G, moving over and clicking, and just keep on doing this for wherever you want. So double tap G, click, double tap G, click, double tapping G to do the edge slide, moving down, pushing it all the way in and then letting go, and it's going to join that together. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. If you'd like to, you can do this. This isn't super important, so if you don't want to, then you don't have to do this, but it will make the mesh a little more low poly. So I'm just going to go along here. It doesn't take very long, just Alt selecting loops, hold down Alt, select a loop, double tap G, push it in, let go. I'm just going to finish that up here for a few more. So there we go, my tree is a lot more low poly now. So I will tab back into object mode. So if you wanted to, you could leave this as a low poly look and kind of make a low poly tree. I want to smooth this out, so I will press Control 2, and that's the shortcut key for adding the subdivision surface. You can also just click right here and add the subdivision surface. And I'm going to set the levels viewport and render to 2. Now, once again, we need to smooth this out because this is a smooth mesh. So I'm going to hit the W key, just right click, and then click on Shade Smooth. And now you can see that the tree is all smoothed out. Now it does look a little bit weird in some areas, and so what we can do is add loop cuts in here, just like we did on the other parts, because the subdivision surface modifier does smooth it out in sometimes weird areas. So we just need to add some loop cuts to define where the edges are going to be. So tab into edit mode, and you can just press Ctrl R on a few of these areas. I'm going to add a loop cut in here, so Ctrl R, click, bring that in. Not too many areas, but like right here, I'm going to press Ctrl R, add a loop cut right there. Add a loop cut right there. And then let's also turn off this auto merge vertices because we don't really need to use this anymore. So I'll just click on that to turn it off. All right, I'm going to tab back into object mode now. And here is our tree. So let's just bring this tree down into the yard, and then I'll just scale it down just like that. All right, I'm going to place my 3D cursor right here. Remember, you can hold down the Shift key and right click to place the 3D cursor. Now I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to go to mesh and add a UV sphere. So what we're making now is like the bushy part of the tree where the leaves are. So add an icosphere. And this is a stylized tree, so for something like this will look pretty good. Now in the corner here, just open up these icosphere settings, and the subdivisions here, I'm going to turn this up because I want it to be more detailed. So just turn it up. I'm going to change it up to maybe like 4. And now what I can do is scale this down, and then I want to kind of make it lumpy and just make the shape of the brush. So I'll just bring it over like that, and then I'm going to tab into edit mode. And if you remember the proportional editing, the shortcut key was O, and it's right up here, proportional editing. Then I can select a point and then press G to grab, and I need to use my scroll wheel and bring it down and just pull that out and just kind of make a lumpy shape for our brush. So just go along here, grab some points and press G, and then scroll with your scroll wheel to make it bigger or smaller, and just make the shape that you want. So once you're happy with the shape of this, you could just shade it smooth like that if you like the look of that. I actually want to give this a low poly look, so I'm going to shade this flat. And what I'm going to do is use another modifier, and this modifier is really good for giving that like low poly stylized look. So to add it, I'm going to click on add modifier, and I'm going to go down here and add the decimate modifier. So what the decimate modifier does is it takes away more and more vertices while still trying to keep the shape and detail of your object. So you can see if this ratio here, if I start to turn this down, the modifier is going to get rid of vertices, so it's going to make it more low poly, but it's going to try to keep the shape as best as it can. So just keep turning this down, and you can see that now it's giving that really cool low poly look. So once you're happy with it, if you want to do that, I'm going to hover my mouse over this and press Ctrl A. And then if you tab into edit mode, you can see what it's done. So it's made all these triangles and just given it a really cool low poly look. So now I want to add some of these for the other parts of the tree. So I will press Shift D to duplicate, press S to scale, and then R to rotate, and I'll rotate it on the Z axis. And then tab into edit mode, and you can select some points and press G to grab, and again using that proportional editing, kind of change the shape of that. And if you wanted to, you could add in another icosphere and do the same thing from scratch. I'm just going to use this object though because it'll save time because we've already made it. Now I don't want these things to be merging through each other, so I'll just bring that up a little bit. And then again, Shift D to duplicate, scale this down and move it into place right on the branches there. And then tab into edit mode, select a vertice and press G, and then again using that proportional editing, it'll move it around and make the adjustments very smooth. And there is our first stylized tree. So now I'm basically just going to do the same thing, but I'll just make this one look a little bit different just to give some variation. So let me just go up here to the one we duplicated, tab into edit mode, and you basically just need to change this. So I'll press Z, move my mouse over to go into wireframe. I'll just box select this and press X and delete it. B and box select this, rotate it over, and I do have the proportional editing on, so I'll just press O to turn that off. Okay, just change this because I do want it to look different. I don't want it to look exactly the same. Maybe I'll delete this one and just select some points and press G to move this around. And then remember, you can select some vertices and press Ctrl A, and Ctrl A is going to scale up that skin modifier. So this tree, I think I want this tree to be a little bit longer. Ctrl A, make that a little bit bigger. I think I'll box select this, rotate it over, just make it look a little bit different. All right, so that's going to be my second tree. So again, select the tree, move your mouse over the skin modifier and press Ctrl A. And if you wanted to, you could duplicate this tree by pressing Shift D if you want to come back to it and make another tree. But I'm just going to press Ctrl A to apply that, and then tab into edit mode. And if you wanted to, again, you could hold down the Alt key and select a loop, and then turn on the auto merge vertices right there. And then you can double tap G, bring it up, let go, and it'll merge that together. So I'm just going to go through and do that, just merging all those together because we don't really need to have all that extra topology. So I think you guys probably know how to do this, so I'm not going to show the entire process. So I'm just going to skip to once I'm finished with this. And there we go. Okay, so now let's press Ctrl 2 or go add modifier and add the subdivision surface. And then you can just tab in edit modes and press Ctrl R and sharpen up any areas that you might want to be sharp like this. So just press Ctrl R and then drag until it's sharp. I think that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is scale this down. Oh, and also we need to shade it smooth with the object context menu, shade it smooth, and then press G, move it over, scale it down, and then you can press period on the number pad to hop over to it. Let's just bring this down into the ground, make it maybe about the same size as this tree. And then again, let's press Shift A. I'm going to add an icosphere, and then just bring this icosphere down here, scale it down, and then you can tab into edit mode, and then just select some vertices. And once again, we need to press O to turn on proportional editing, and just change that shape, make all those branches and leaves and brush from the tree, just scale it into place. And then once you're happy with that, click on Add Modifier, add the Decimate modifier to get rid of some vertices. And then this ratio here, you can pull this down if you'd like to give it a low poly look. And then you can actually go back into edit mode now, and you can keep on editing this. And then when you tab back into object mode, it's going to add the Decimate modifier. But when you tab into edit mode, it's going to not show it in the view. And then once you're happy with that, you can press Ctrl A with your mouse hovered over the Decimate modifier, and that will apply it. So now let's just add these for the other branches. So I'll press Shift D, duplicate this, scale it down. And both of these trees have two main limbs coming out on either side. So what I'm actually going to do is just delete one of those to make it a little bit more unique and different. So just going to add one here, press Shift D, duplicate this, add another one here. And then once I've put that in place, I'm actually just going to delete this. So I will select the tree, tab into edit mode, Z and move my mouse over to go into wireframe, press A to deselect everything, and then B, box select the tree limb, and then press X and delete vertices. Now we need to go back into solid view and just navigate over here. And then we just need to select all of these 4 points and then press F, and F is going to fill a face. And then it's a little bit lumpy here, so I need to press G to move this, and I need to press O to turn off proportional editing, G to grab, and R to rotate, and just bring that back down there. And there we go. So now we have 2 unique trees. So I want to just be able to select these trees and just very easily move them around in the scene. But you can see that when I select this and move it around, the rest of the tree isn't moving around with it. And there's 2 ways to get around this. One way is to select all the objects and join them together into one object. And another way to do this is to parent these objects to the base of the tree. So when I move the base of the tree, the other parts are going to be moved along with it. So first I'm going to show you how to join the objects together. So what you do is you hold down the Shift key, select all of the tree, and then what you do is you lastly select the object that you want all the other objects to be joined into. And how you know that this is the last object that you selected is because these have an orange outline and this has a yellow outline. So this object, because it was the last one that was selected and it has a yellow outline, it's considered the active object. Now if I hold down the Shift key and select a different one lastly, then this one is going to turn into the active object, and then these are just the other ones that are selected. So I want to lastly shift click on the base of the tree, and that'll select it, and that way it's the active object. And then the shortcut key for joining them all together is Control J, and you can remember that by J for join. Now you can see when we did that, something happened here, and basically what's happening is because the base of the tree had the subdivision surface modifier, all of these objects got joined together, and so now they have the subdivision surface modifier as well. But if we want to have that low poly look, then this isn't going to work because we don't want this to have the subserve, but we do want this to have the subserve. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. Now you could shift select one of the leaves as the last object, and that way that would be the active object. And then if you press Ctrl J, they're all going to be joined together. But then what that does is it removes the subserve from this object because this doesn't have a subserve. So I'm just going to Ctrl Z that. What you could do is select this branch and then press Ctrl A to apply the subserve, and then select all these objects and press Ctrl J. Now this works fine for this example, but there may be times that you don't want to apply the modifiers because this does add a lot more geometry to the scene. So I'm just going to Ctrl Z that. What I'm going to do is show you how to parent these to this object so that when we move this object, these objects are going to be pulled along with it. So what you do is you select all the objects, and then once again, lastly, select this object because this is the object that I want the other objects to be parented onto. Then what you do is you press Control P, and you can remember Control P because P is for parent, and I want to set parent to object. So if I set parent to object, and now that we've done that, you can see that these objects have these little black dotted lines going down to the base of this object. And you can see now that if I select the base of the tree and press G to grab, the other objects are going to be moved around with it. So this object is the parent object, and these objects are the child objects. So it's like when the parent object moves, the child objects are going to be moved along with the parent. But the child objects can be moved by themselves. So they can move up here, over here, over here. But then when you move the parent object, the child objects are going to be moved along with it. But these are free to move how they like. Now, if you want to undo that for some reason, like maybe this piece right here, you want to take it off of the parent, what you do is select the object, press Alt P instead of Control P, Alt P, and then click on Clear Parent. And now this object is free from that parent, and now you can move this, and it's not going to move this object. Now, when you duplicate this, it's not going to duplicate the other objects, so you'll just have to select these and press Shift D and duplicate them and move them over. So I'm going to do the same thing for this tree as well. So I'm going to select this and then shift select all the others and then select this one last. And then the shortcut key is Control P, P for parent, and set parent to object. And now I can just click on this and move it around, and the child objects are going to move along with the parent object. So let's press 0 on the number pad to go into the camera view, and then we can move these around and put them in the scene. So I'm going to bring this over, press 0 on the number pad, and just kind of see what looks good. So I'll press G, click with my middle mouse wheel, move this over, and then you can press R and Z, rotate this. So I'm going to select this one now, move it over, and then R and Z and rotate the tree, bring it over here, put it in the backyard, and then you can also change these. And then I like this tree better, so I'm actually going to delete all of these objects, and then I'm going to shift select all these objects, press Shift D, duplicate it, bring it over, and then you can just select the parent object and put it into place. I'm going to have another one right back here in the background. So another tree right there, kind of give it a random rotation. So just play around with the placement of the trees until you have a good composition that you like. All right, let's model the mailbox now. So I'm going to put the mailbox right over here. So I'll just place my 3D cursor right there, and then I'll press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cube because we're going to be making the wooden stand for the mailbox. So just press S and scale this down, period on the number pad to zoom over to it, scale it down to a size that you like, and then I'm going to tab into edit mode, press 3 to go to the face select and select this face, and press G and Z, bring that up to a size that you like, but then I'll go into object mode and make it a little bit thinner. And select this face and bring it up by pressing G to grab, Z on the Z axis, and bring that up. Now let's make the mailbox now. So I don't want this to be low poly, I want it to be very smooth. What I'm going to do is actually start with this object and model it. So I will select this plane right here, and I'm going to press Shift D, and that'll duplicate the plane. I'll press Z on the Z axis and just bring it up. Now what I want to do is I want this to be a separate object. So to make this a separate object, you press P, and that's the separate, and then click on selection. So what you're telling it is everything that's selected, make that a separate object. So I can tab into object mode now, just select the new object and then tab into edit mode, and then press A to select everything and S and scale it up. I'll press G and Z now and just drop it slightly under there and then scale it up a bit. Okay, now my mailbox is longer this way, so I'm going to press S, click and hold with my middle mouse wheel, and then let go. Scale that up to the size of a mailbox, and then I can press E and Z and just bring that up on the Z axis. Bring it up to the size that you like. And then I want to make the top of the mailbox round, so I will press E, bring that up, and then S and click with my middle mouse wheel and make that smaller like that. So right now it's really blocky, but we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier to smooth it out. So press Ctrl 2 to add a subsurf modifier, and you can see because we don't have very many vertices here, it really tightens that up and kind of hugs it inside the mesh. So we need to add some loop cuts. So I'm going to press Ctrl R, click, bring it over, and then click again to place that just to sharpen up those edges. Ctrl R, click, bring it over, and then click to place that. And then you can see that it's really round right here. So Ctrl R, click, bring it down, click to place that. And then let's add one right up here. So Ctrl R, click, and bring that up. And then I want this to be very round right here. So let's tab into edit mode, press Ctrl R, and then double click right here to place that. And then I want to scale this out. So I'll press S, click with my middle mouse wheel, bring that out a little bit, and then tab back into object mode. Okay, that's looking pretty good, but we need to add some more loop cuts. So Ctrl R, add another loop cut here, click to place that, Ctrl R, add another loop cut here, click to place that, and then we can shade that smooth. Okay, that's looking really good. It is a little bit high up, so I will press 1 to go to front view, tab into edit mode, Z, move my mouse over, go into wireframe. We're just going to deselect everything. Press 1 or click right up here for the vertex select, and you can just press B for box select, select this whole thing, and then press G to grab, Z on the Z axis, and just bring it down a little bit. Tab back into object mode, Z and move back into solid view, and see how that's looking. Okay, that looks a lot better. So now I want to add a little door on the front of the mailbox. So to do this, I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm just going to use what we've already modeled because it'll be a lot faster. So A to deselect everything, Z, move over into wireframe, B and box select this, and then I can press Shift D to duplicate this whole thing, click with my middle mouse wheel, just bring it out a little bit, Z, move back into solid view, and then we can just scale this down a little bit, and then just press G, click with my middle mouse wheel, and just bring that in. And that way we've made just a basic door for our mailbox. Okay, let's model a little hinge here so that you can pull the mailbox open, and then we'll add a little flag here as well. So what I'm going to do is actually use the door handle and just duplicate it and put it right over here. So what I'll do is zoom out so that you can see the door handle, select the door handle, and press Shift D and just bring it right over there. Now to very quickly make this go right over here, I can just click and center my 3D cursor right there. And then there's a really cool feature using this 3D cursor. What you do is you press Shift S. So Shift S is going to bring up all these different settings, and we want to use the top one, which is selection to cursor. So what it's telling it to do is whatever is selected, bring that to where the cursor is. So if you do that, you can see that now this is automatically going to be brought over to where the 3D cursor is. So the 3D cursor is a really powerful tool. It has some more features as well, which we will go over in some later parts. So I'll scale this down with S and then G, move this over. I just want to make a little handle to open up that door. Just kind of put it in the middle there. Now let's model a basic flag. So I'm going to place my 3D cursor right here, press Shift A, and I will add a cube. Press S and scale the cube down. Just scale it down right there. Okay. Tab into edit mode, and I'm going to press S, click with my middle mouse, make it a lot thinner, and then press G, click with my middle mouse, just bring that out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now I will press 3 to go to the face select. Just select this face, and I'm going to pull it over here. So I'll press G, click with my middle mouse, bring it over, and then I want to extrude it down. So what I'll do is press E to extrude, bring it over, and then click, and then select this bottom face and press E to extrude and bring it down. So there we go. Now we just have a basic flag. Let's add a bevel. So you could just tab into edit mode, select everything, and press Ctrl B. What I'm going to do in this case, just to show you, is add modifier and just add the bevel modifier. So click on the bevel, and then you can just turn these segments up and change the amount up as well. And then let's shade that object smooth. And I think I need to scale this whole flag a little bit more down. All right, so our mailbox is finished now. Let's save this again by pressing Ctrl S to save, or go file, and save. And the last thing we're going to model in this part is going to be a flag in the front yard. So I'm going to again place my 3D cursor here, and remember, hold down the Shift key and right click if you're using the left click select. I'll press Shift A, go to mesh, and I'm going to add, I could add a circle, but I'm going to add a cylinder. Now right now on the cylinder settings right down here, 32 is pretty high. I don't really need it to be that high because this is just a little pole, a flag pole. So I'll just change it to 8 and then close that. I'll scale this way down and then scale it on the Z axis by pressing S and Z, making this really tall, and then press S again, make that really small. Okay, and then if I just press period on the number pad, I can zoom over to it, and I'll press S and Z, bring it up, and then maybe just scale it down a little bit, bring it down a little bit more, and then just shade that smooth, right click and just hit shade smooth. So later on in this tutorial series, we are going to be adding cloth physics to our flag and making it blow in the wind, but not in this part. In this part, we're just going to be modeling the flag. So I'll place my 3D cursor right here, press Shift A, and I'm going to add a plane. Just scale this plane down and then press R to rotate, X on the X axis, and type in 9, 0, and enter to rotate it exactly 90 degrees over. Press G, click with your middle mouse wheel, press G, click with your middle mouse wheel, bring that down, and then just change it to a scale that you like. And just make sure the side of the flag is just slightly going into the flagpole. Now I'm going to tab into edit mode, press 1 to go to the vertex select, and just shift select these two vertices. And I'm going to press E and extrude them out, and click with your middle mouse wheel. And I want to make these about square, so this one is exactly square. This one, just make sure it's about square, just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just make sure it's pretty close, because later on that will be really important when we do our cloth simulation. Okay, let's tab back into object mode, and for now, that's all I'm going to do for the modeling of the flag. Press 0 and you can go into the camera view and we can see what we've made. So just press Ctrl S again to save your Blender file. So there we go, most of the modeling is done, so that's going to be it for this part. So join me in the next part. It's going to be right up on the screen, right up there when it's released. And in the next part, we're going to be doing basic materials. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next part.